Two similar yellow-bellied kingbirds spend their summers in the west. Occasionally, one strays far from its range, confusing birdwatchers unfamiliar with these look-alike species. Welcome. My name is Greg. In this video, we'll learn how to tell Western kingbirds apart from Cassin's kingbirds. Grab your favorite field guide and follow along with me as we identify these look-alike birds. Look at the tails to see a quick and easy way to tell these birds apart. Western kingbirds have bright white outer tail feathers. The tail of Cassin's kingbirds show a subtle pale tip. This ID tip is key for separating Western and Cassin's kingbirds. But it won't help if you're looking at a different similar species. So next, we'll eliminate other similar species that might cause confusion. Then we'll examine some more ID tips that will separate Western and Cassin's kingbirds, including listening to their songs and calls. Finally, we'll look at their distribution to help us make a more confident identification. There is one similar species to these kingbirds that might surprise you. Western meadowlarks are yellow below with white outer tail feathers. They are found in the same prairies with scattered trees, such as sage and juniper scrublands. If you go out looking for Western or Cassin's kingbirds, you're likely going to have to sort through many Western meadowlarks. Both meadowlarks and kingbirds perch on tree tips, telephone wires, and fence lines. Kingbirds, though, have a more upright posture and longer tail hanging down. Meadowlarks feed on the ground on hopping and crawling insects and grain. The kingbirds catch flying insects on the wing, including bees, moths, and grasshoppers. A more difficult identification challenge lies with the Myiarchus flycatchers. These birds share some physical similarities with Western and Cassin's kingbirds, such as their gray heads and yellow bellies. The most similar species is the great crested flycatcher, which is found throughout the east and overlaps in range with Western kingbirds on the Great Plains. Myiarchus flycatchers can be distinguished by their longer-looking tails. A key feature is the rusty coloration on the underside of their tails and sometimes along the edges of their secondary wing feathers. In contrast, Western and Cassin's kingbirds lack any rusty tones on the tail or wing edges. When it comes to head and throat coloration, great crested flycatchers display dark gray heads and breasts, along with a dark throat. This difference makes them easy to tell apart from Western and Cassin's kingbirds, which have white throats. While other Myiarchus species may exhibit pale throats, their belly coloration tends to be much paler yellow or even white compared to the vivid yellow of the kingbirds. Kingbirds and Myiarchus flycatchers show distinct differences in their behavior. Kingbirds are known for their conspicuous perching habits, often seen out in the open on wires or dead branches at the tops of trees. In contrast, Myiarchus flycatchers prefer the interior of small trees and favor the shaded lower branches. Before we go further into the ID tips for Western and Cassin's kingbirds, let's briefly look at one more pair of similar species, tropical and Couch's kingbirds. These two were once considered the same species but have since been split into two. Both can be found in Texas, with tropical kingbirds also appearing in Arizona. In fall, tropical and Couch's kingbirds are known to wander widely, sometimes showing up far outside their usual ranges. Their appearances are remarkably similar to each other, making them difficult to distinguish visually. Vocalizations are the best way to tell out-of-range birds apart. Three key features can help separate tropical and Couch's kingbirds from Western and Cassin's. First, bill size. Tropical and Couch's have noticeably larger, heavier bills. Next, breast color. Tropical and Couch's display bright yellow bellies with a greenish wash on the breast, in contrast to the gray breasts of Western and Cassin's. Finally, tail shape. Tropical and Couch's kingbirds have forked or notched tails, unlike the square-tipped tails of Western and Cassins. With tropical and Couch's kingbirds covered, it's time to shift our focus back to Western and Cassins. The white outer tail feathers of Western kingbirds and pale tail tips of Cassin's kingbirds are most visible from below when the tail is spread wide. But what if you can't get a good look at the tail? That's where the head and throat come in. These markings offer another reliable way to separate Western and Cassin's kingbirds. Let's take a closer look. Cassin's kingbird have a dark gray head and breast. They have a contrasting bold white stripe on the dark cheek. The chin is white. That's the upper throat right under the bill, but the lower throat is dark. Western kingbirds have a pale gray head and breast. The white throat merges gradually into the pale gray breast. There is no difference between the male and female plumage. These birds do not change their appearance seasonally. What you will notice is their calls. Telling Western and Cassin's kingbirds apart by their calls is easy once learned. And these birds are loud and noisy. The scientific name for Cassin's kingbird is vociferans, and these birds are vociferous. Cassin's kingbirds give a call that is a husky chibreer. They string these calls together into their song. Listen. Western kingbirds do something similar. They give excited kit calls that they run into a series and a song. Listen. To identify these birds with confidence, study your field guide map and get to know the distribution and migration patterns. Knowing where and when a bird is likely to be found helps you narrow down the possibilities and focus your attention on the most important field marks. Western kingbirds breed across western North America, migrating to Central America for the winter. Cassin's kingbirds breed in the southwestern U.S., from California to Texas, with a fragmented range extending north as far as northeastern Montana. They winter primarily in Mexico. Western kingbirds enter the southwestern U.S. in mid-March, but don't reach most of their breeding range until late April. Cassin's kingbirds are now year-round residents in parts of Southern California. Elsewhere, they generally arrive as migrants in March. Fall migration for both Western and Cassin's kingbirds begins in July and continues through October. During this period, Western kingbirds are known to wander more extensively, occasionally appearing far outside their typical range. In contrast, Cassin's kingbirds follow a more direct migration corridor between their breeding sites and Mexico. By October, other yellow-bellied kingbird species, such as tropical and Couch's kingbirds, also wander widely, making careful identification crucial. While plumage is often the first thing we notice, shape and structure can be just as important for identifying many lookalike flycatchers. These subtle clues are especially helpful for telling apart tricky pairs like wood peewees and willow flycatchers, as explained in this video.